Hey, shalom everybody, this is Daniel aka Daniela. I wanted to make this video because the other day I I was watching this. I want to say before I say anything else, I did not watch the whole video. I think I got like probably about 25 to 30 minutes in. I haven't finished the video, so basically what I'm addressing is what I heard within that time frame. Eventually I'm gonna watch the whole video, but it's almost 2 hours long, so I didn't have the time, and I still don't have the time to watch it all. But I wanted to make this video because yesterday, this was really heavy on my mind, and it's been heavy on my mind for a long time because I am not a how can I say this? I'm not a brother. I'm not one of the brothers who who is perfect in the word in every way. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of brothers out here who are very good. You know what I'm saying? They study their asses off and they know the word very, very well. I've been in the truth for about since I was probably like 12, 13, in the sense that I knew who I was, I knew who my God was, but I didn't know everything about the Most High, about Yahweh. I still don't, you know what I'm saying? We all still don't, but I'm much more refined than I was back then, but I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. And I think all of us strive for that, strive for more understanding and stuff like that. So if brothers, want to chime in on this conversation I'm having, because basically this is a video response I'm making to the SICARI Israelites. I don't know their names by heart, but I believe this brother's name is Elazar. I don't know his name. But they're responding to, I guess, a person who, chimes in and listens to their podcasts very often or whatever. Because he did mention that he does, listen to their podcasts and stuff like that. So basically, the idea that brother is pushing, not these brothers, but the brothers they're responding to, is the idea that he didn't necessarily say this, but when I show you it, you will see what the heck I'm talking about. So basically, with the idea that he's pushing, because the idea that he's pushing is that light-skinned Hispanics are most likely not Israel. Now, who knows? Because his brother, throughout the video, throughout what I've seen, he said some things, he made some statements, and this brother right here, I believe his name is Elazar, he brought us some scriptures for him, and he, even said a couple things that made this brother think about what he was saying, and, renege on what he was saying, because, he seemed that the brother was right. So, who knows, maybe by the end of this video, maybe he came around like, you know what, you're right, I wasn't looking at things properly, I didn't do enough research, whatever, I don't know, someone give him that benefit of the doubt. But from what I've seen, I can't rock with that, because I feel like it wasn't addressed properly, at least from what I've seen. So like I said, only up to like 30 minutes of it, and it's not because these brothers, not because I don't think they did their job, but just because the things that the other brothers talking about that they're responding to, I don't think that they're well versed in that area, when it comes to genetics and stuff like that. So basically, like I said, he's pushing this idea that light-skinned Israelites or light-skinned Hispanics are not Israelites. The first thing that he asked Elazar, well, the first question he asked was, is color important determining, let me see, sorry, I don't have my glasses and my vision is terrible right now, but he said, is color important in determining Israelites? And Elazar said yes, on the surface level. And me, I don't necessarily agree with that. I really don't I really don't think that skin color matters all too much. And the reason why I say that is because, the Most High told Jacob that, I believe it was Jacob, sorry. I believe it was Jacob. He told Abraham, I believe, that, his seed, will be, uncountable, basically. Like, it's the sand in the sea. Like, you will be unable to count it. And we know that we were going to be in every nation, all across the world. We know that we were going to be scattered all across the world. We knew that we were going to, be the biggest nation on the world. The scriptures tell us this. So We can have people over there in China who look straight up like a Chinaman. I know that sounds racist as hell, but a Chinese guy. Someone who looks straight up like the stereotypical Japanese dude. Or like the stereotypical Western European, and could be an Israelite. Maybe not by flesh, but through the seed and even through the spirit. You know what I'm saying? Because we know that the seed and the spirit is kind of, it overrides everything, and it's kind of one and the same. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe that the seed is not only just a physical thing, but it's a spiritual thing too. And that's why, you know, when you talk about the parable of the wheat and tares, which I'm going to get into, I believe that the word will appeal to the spirit. And we know that there's Israelites out there who are rebellious, but I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But anyways, so yeah, I really don't think skin color matters all like that. I'm going to give you a great example of this. This brother right here. And also I have a brother, an actual brother, who is also biracial. My dad is black, his mother is white. Okay? Just like this brother right here. You know, and a lot of people have issues with his brother simply because of his skin color. They're like, what are you, Latino? Or, oh, you're biracial. Oh, you're not even fully black. How can you call yourself an Israelite? Stupid, petty shit like that. But, good example. That brother and also my brother, they both had black fathers, white mothers. But my grandmother, who is around this man's complexion, she is a tear. Why do I say that? Because I know my grandmother's history. I know her ancestry. You know what I'm saying? So while y'all calling this brother a tear, there's people around walking around looking just like this man with the same phenotype who are really tears. My grandmother, her father was a mulatto. I did some research on that, and she told me this a long time ago, but she's since passed. She's been passed on since 2009. And I knew that her father's a mulatto, and after she passed on, I was kind of curious about her history and see where it went and stuff. Cause she told us a lot of stories when we were young about her family, where it descended from, that she has white heritage, she has, of course, black heritage and Native American heritage. And when I did the ancestry check on our family back in West Virginia, because that's where she's from. She's from Virginia, but she lived a lot of her younger life in West Virginia, like in the border area. And then when she was older, she moved here to Ohio. But anyways, her father was listed as a mulatto. Come to find out that his father was a white man. Not only was he a white man, but because people think that this whole interracial relationship thing is new. No, if you look at the records in the 1600s, there was a lot of racial mixing between black and whites. It only became illegal during the Elizabeth Key case. That's when slavery of white people was no longer legal, and then also interracial relationship between black men and white women, or I mean black people and white people, were not legal, even though it still happened in a lot of places, and even to this day, but it still happened. That's just the point I was making. But anyways, my grandmother's father, who was mulatto, his father was white. Not only was he white, but he was a descendant of the slave masters. Basically, his parents were slave masters. They were slave owners. And my grandmother's father's mother descended from, she descended from the slaves on that plantation. So this coonish behavior goes back way back. I mean, what type of Stockholm syndrome is that? To where basically you marry a white person who wants to own your family. That's fucking crazy. But they worked on his plantation as sharecroppers, of course, after slavery happened. He had 8 children with her, which he took care of in the sense that he gave her money to take care of herself and the kids, but he wasn't a father to them because, you know, that shit was highly looked down upon back then. So that's how that situation was. But anyways, my grandmother looks like she looked like the average black woman. The average black woman. But little did we know until I did my research that she is actually a terror. You know, you sit there and walk down the street like, hey sister, did you know that you were an Israelite? Not knowing that that woman was an Israelite. That's why it's good not to prejudge in the sense of saying like, oh no, they're not an Israelite. I can understand us looking out more for people who look like us because there's a better chance that they will be an Israelite. But at the same time, if there's a white person who's listening to the word, who knows? They may be an Israelite. And I'm not using this as an excuse for brothers to go out there and put so much time and effort into teaching white people. Hell no. Because I can tell you this. If it's meant for you, if the Most High put it into your spirit to where you're Israelite and you hear this word, you're gonna receive it, and you're gonna go out your way to try to get this word and to get the truth. And you may even do some research. A white person today may be like, oh yeah, because there's a lot of these out there. I actually knew one in high school who looked like the average white person, the average Anglo-Saxon white person. Turns out that this chick's father was biracial, and his father was a black man. No, I think it was her great-grandfather on her father's side. So going up her paternal line, talking about father to grandfather to great-grandfather to great-great-grandfather, was a black man. Was a black man. Crazy, right? There's even a news report that you can find on YouTube where this reporter from Detroit found out that he was part black, and that his grandfather, his father's, I believe it was his great-grandfather. His great-grandfather was biracial, and he passed as white. And I believe that, I'm not sure if it was his mother. I'm not sure if it was his black ancestor was a woman or a man. I'm not sure about that. But I just know that he had black ancestry. So there's a lot of white people walking around with black ancestry. Some of it could go back to their paternal side. Some of it can go back to their maternal side. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So you can't just sit there and say that these people are not Israelites, because some brothers out here feel like they're more Israelite than him because they have more melanin in their skin. Okay, according to the flesh, we may be more similar to our forefathers, because I can tell you this. I think for them, well, this is just I can't really say that this is proof or fact or anything like this because I wasn't living back then. But I can tell you this, that I think that we don't look necessarily exactly how we look back then, Israel, because, you know, some brothers want to deny it, whatever. But studies show that a lot of black people have white ancestry. I have white ancestry in my family that goes back a few generations. You know what I'm saying? And that's the average black person. You know what I'm saying? Some may have it going back 100 years. Some may be sooner than that. Some may be further than that. But the average black person, they say, have around somewhere 5 to 20% European heritage. And some brothers don't like that. They don't want to hear that because they don't want to have anything to do with the white man. I understand that shit. I totally understand that. But if that's the truth, you know, it is what it is. You know, and the reason why I think that that's somewhat true is because, especially here in the United States and Canada, a lot of blacks range from different colors. But if you go to a lot of countries where they have less white admixture, like places like Jamaica, places like Haiti, places like French Guinea, which is down in South America on the eastern coast, a lot of places, even Belize, places like that, where they have a lot of big populations, even parts of Colombia, because I have family from Colombia. When you go to places like even well, I would just say Colombia, because Colombia, even Venezuela, they have very isolated towns where most of the people are just black, and they don't necessarily look like us here in the United States, and that's because a lot of them went without mixing with white people. You know, so that's just the point I'm making, why I don't think that we look exactly like how we used to be. But I really don't think skin color matters, because you could be preaching to someone who's around this for the skin color, and he could be a Hamite. You know what I'm saying? So you can't. I don't really think that skin color matters in that sense. But anyways, you know, I'm gonna play a little bit of this video. I'm gonna go back. I think it's like at the 15:20 mark, where the brothers start talking about DNA and stuff like that. And now he mentions that most most Latinos, when they and let me say this, I have family members on my dad's side who are from Colombia, and a lot of them are just straight black. Like, they may be black and mixed with Indian, because a lot of black Colombians are like zombos, which is Indio and Negro. So there you go. And then also I have family from Dominican Republic who can be heavily mixed, who are heavily mixed. Family from Venezuela and other countries, you know what I'm saying? So I have family members mixed. Like I said, I got a brother who's mulatto, who's considered mulatto, which is having one black parent and one white parent. But anyways, DNA tracing, the brother that they're responding to, he said that he don't think that that's a white man science. He believes things like carbon dating is white man science because it's full of bullshit. I agree with that. Carbon dating is full of bullshit. It really is. I don't trust that shit at all. It's been proven to be just a load of shit. I mean, there was an example that they used with a woolly mammoth or something like that, where, and I don't really trust their dating system at all, whether it's you know, carbon dating or any type of dating, and I'll tell you why. But they did this. It was this very famous experiment that they did with a woolly mammoth. They took one piece of his leg, like a bottom part of his leg, and they tested, and it was like 10 million years old. And then they tested another piece of the woolly mammoth's leg, and it came out to be like 10,000 or 7,000 years old. Not that old, you know what I'm saying? So you can't trust that shit. And then also with their dating, you know how they usually dig up dinosaur bones, and they really don't do carbon dating on it, but they base it on the level, the ground composites or whatever, like the level that it's on. And it's funny because I believe it was like a Hell Creek or someplace where they usually dig up dinosaur bones, where they base it off of the layer of rock that it's on, you know, like the sedimentary rock. And it's supposed to be like different time zones, like it's sad because I really like dinosaurs growing up. I can't remember the damn time zones. But anyways, there was this tree that they found that was in 2 different time zones. You know, it was in this layer of rock and it was in this other layer of rock. One layer of rock was like a few million years old. Another one was like a few 100 million years old. You know what I'm saying? So I don't trust their system, their time system at all when they go back to dating things. But going back to what I was saying, you know, he doesn't consider DNA testing as a white man science. He believed that that is the most high science. I really didn't understand his point with that, because I'm like, you know, that just determines, you know, it just really just finds your ancestry, you know, where it comes from. And most of the ancestry tests that's being done, I think, I believe Ancestry.com is like the only one who doesn't do this type of test. When they use only the mitochondrial DNA. And the reason why most DNA tests are done with the mitochondrial DNA is because, first and foremost, mitochondrial DNA is DNA that is found in every human being, and it can only be sent from mother to child. And the reason why they trace that is because the mitochondrial DNA goes from mother to child, usually, well, I believe, unchanged. So it's a better way of tracking where this gene came from. You know what I'm saying? Unlike your father, you know what I'm saying? With your father, basically the DNA that he gives you, basically the DNA that he gets, it stops with him. You know what I'm saying? His X chromosomes, it stops with him. He doesn't give you any X. He just only gives you Y. So that's their little system of, you know, tracking. That's what most of them do. But Ancestry, they do like a more stringent type of testing and stuff like that. But most of them use the mitochondrial DNA. But we know, according to the scriptures, that the Most High bases your house is based off of your father's nationality. So wherever your father is, that's what you are. So, you know, when you're talking about ancestry tests being, you know, something that I guess Yahweh rocks with, that's not necessarily true, because they're basing what they find from you off of what your mother has been carried through her gene. And also, according to science, I put quote around that, you're more related to your mother than you are your father. And of course, that's because they say that you get more traits from her because of the mitochondrial DNA, and because you're growing within her and stuff like that. So you share blood cells for a while, and you know, stuff like that. So according to science, I guess you can call it white man science, you're more, and it could be true. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe according to the flesh, you're more related to your mother than you are your father. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but this is what they say. You know what I'm saying? And I had links, but I closed them out. You know, if y'all really want, you know what? I'm just gonna pull it up real quick. Give me one moment. Okay, I'm back. Anyways, I couldn't find it because a friend had shared it with me a way back. But I really don't trust, like I said, I really don't trust those because I've seen different sources saying that you're more related to your father. And I've seen some saying you're more related to your mother. You're more likely to inherit diseases that were passed down through your mother's line and not your father's line and all this other stuff. So, but that really doesn't matter at all. That really doesn't matter because we know that according to the Bible, your house is decided upon your father. Basically, your race, your nationality is decided from your father. But anyways, I wanted to go into this brother, what he says.
What's the word? I'm a man of words and I can't find it. It's imperfect, for lack of better words, right? So when I talk about DNA, and we talk about a particular type of DNA that proves heredity, right? We speak about that. I don't subscribe to that being a white man science because I can find that science in the Bible first. Because the Bible already told us that the house is reckoned by the Father. So that's the same to me in my mind. Somehow I still see 99.99 or whatever it is when I read that. That's why, because this science is not new to the scriptures, just like Solomon already told us how meteorology works, how currents flow, how the wind travels. So this is not white man science. We've been on this. Just because the scriptures don't explicitly say that we go in and extract strands of DNA and this is how we prove, these are sciences that the Most High himself.
See, now at this point, I don't understand what he's saying. I'm not sure if he's saying like, because I mean, the ancestry DNA, all it does is just tell you where your family is from. It doesn't necessarily say, oh, this is I mean, most of them don't get me wrong, there are some out there that will tell you where your father lines come from, like oh yeah, this most likely came from your father's side, and then they will say, oh, this one most likely came from your mother's side. But most of them just give you a broad and very vague and very general idea of where your genetics come from. It doesn't. Most of them don't break it down to you. Oh, this is where it comes from through your mother or father. You usually have to hire like a private company to do that. But it's definitely not these $100 or $200 DNA kits that people usually do. They usually don't show that at all. I actually did one a long time ago. I did one probably about like 3-4 years ago. And that was around the time when I found out that my grandmother's dad was a white guy in the flesh. I found out my grandmother was a white woman in spirit. Sorry. But anyways, I guess, I mean, if he's trying to say that's the same thing as saying that your house is, you know, it's decided upon what your father is, that's not the same thing. I mean, it really isn't. It's not the same thing at all. But anyways,
made sure if we didn't practice the science, we at least knew the methodology and why it should be that way. Meaning about the house being reckoned by the Father, right? Because if it was,
see, so that's not the same thing. DNA testing is not saying that, oh yeah, this is where this is your father's DNA, because most of them, and if you don't believe me, you can go out there and look at these videos. There's tons of them on Facebook. I mean, there's tons of them on YouTube where you can see people actually take the DNA test and they get the results. Most of them are not that detailed. Like I can tell you, the ones from Ancestry.com and 23andMe and all these other ones, like even the ones where you test your African DNA, they do not break it. Most of them do not break it down to that level. Like, oh, this is where your father's side, and they even tell you there's actually a I forget what they call it, but it's like fine print that basically say that, hey, this is estimates. These are not exact. It could be wrong. So you can't, you can't press charges against them and stuff like that. So yeah, that stuff is not 100%. And there's even There's even websites out there. There's I think Time Magazine or some big, I can't remember who it was, but some big news publisher came out and they exposed these ancestry kits as not being accurate and basically just there to take your money. So I wouldn't even really yeah. It's funny because there's this one guy who I met him probably about like a year or two ago, and he did an ancestry test. He wanted it because he was from West Africa. He wanted to see what he would get from his ancestry. No, he wasn't from West Africa. He was like from Central Africa or whatever. He wanted to see what he would get on his ancestry test. So what he did is he bought 2 ancestry tests because he knew where he was from. And it was funny because the first one was very accurate, and then the second one said that he had East Asian in him. He had trace parts found in like Papua New Guinea, Alaska. And he was like, I believe he was like 20 to 30% white. And the first one he got from Ancestry.com, and then the second one he got from, I can't even remember where he got it from, but he did 2 tests, and they were inaccurate. And it's funny because there's another woman, there was a woman I talked to about probably a year ago, where she did 2 tests. And they tell you this all the time. You can get multiple tests and get different results back. I watched a woman probably about 3-4 weeks ago where she got different results from taking 2 different tests because she was missing Native American DNA. She was like, "Oh, yeah, I know I got Native American in my blood, but it doesn't show up on this test or on this on the results." So she went and took another DNA test, and yeah, she has some Native American DNA, but it was just like, what do y'all test this? I want to know what the actual science, because I know they test the mitochondrial DNA, but what is the process? How do I know that y'all are right? How do y'all know that y'all are correct? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I really want to know. What did they base it on? What did they judge this stuff on? Because, like I said, you can go out there, there's articles talking about how ancestry testing is flawed. So, you know, he says that he believes that this is real science. He don't believe that it's white man science, but it's flawed. You can read this stuff. You know, I will put up articles, but I just don't feel like going through all that. But he uses this as a point, and I'm about to play it. I'm going to let it come from his mouth.
But in the case, then check this out. Here's something deep. This is specifically to you, Brother Alazar. If that wasn't the case, your mother's father, his bloodline would be lost. You see what I'm saying? Where would it have went if she reckoned you? Or if your father didn't reckon you, then, you know what I'm saying, his bloodline is lost into your mother.
Now, see, basically what he's saying is that if Yahweh didn't have it set up like that to where your house is based off your father, that his father's heritage of being a Hebrew Israelite would have been lost in his mother because his mother is white, and the buck would have stopped right there. But since it's the other way around, he can still put his seed, he's still an Israelite, and the seed that he puts forth are still going to be Israelites. You know what I'm saying? So he's kind of exiting himself off, because what this brother fails to realize is that there were hundreds of millions of Native Americans here in the United States. Yeah, a lot of them, I mean, not just here in the United States, but in the Americas. The biggest extermination of the Native Americans happened here in North America. See, we like to believe that Native Americans were completely wiped out in other places, like how they were in, well, they're not completely wiped out here, but basically 99.9% Native Americans here in the United States were wiped out. But there are still millions of Native Americans in Canada, because a lot of them fled up there. And Canadians just weren't killing Native Americans like how Americans were. We here in the United States, I think we only got like a few 100,000 Native Americans. That's all in this entire country. People who are registered as Native Americans. Canada has millions of Native Americans. Mexico has millions. Central South America has millions of Native Americans. They really didn't. The Spanish, even though they were cruel and they did exterminate Native Americans, they mostly killed the ones who rebelled against them, who didn't convert over to Catholicism. It was very different there. The Spaniards, very different people than the Anglos. You know, I don't know why. I can't put exactly on it, you know. I think it has to do with history. But they didn't exterminate Native Americans up here for no fucking reason like the British did here in the United States. They were just murdering them here in the United States, wiping out for no fucking reason. You know, but they didn't do the same thing. The Spanish didn't do, and the Portuguese didn't do the same thing to the Americans down in Central and South America. That's why there are still millions of them there. And most ignorant Americans don't know this fact. You know, and what they don't understand is that the modern day Hispanic that we see are mostly of Native American descent. They're classified as mestizos simply because they have European heritage. But I wanted to pull this up right here. This is just Mexico right here alone. Now, let me, you know, actually I jumped the gun. Let me go back to what this brother was saying. So, I'm sorry about that. Right here. Sorry. Slovakia. I kind of jumped the gun, but anyways, let's listen to this, brother.
How can that be? So, I subscribe that the Bible already told us the science, even it didn't tell us the practice of the science. You see what I'm saying? So
he's trying to say that, you know, what Most High, you know, how he has it set up that your father decides what you are, and that ancestry testing is the same thing. No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not the same thing. Like I said, in most tests they test the mitochondrial DNA, which comes from your mother. When we know in the Bible, it's all about your father. So no, it's not the same. Even if it was your, you know, even if they didn't test the mitochondrial DNA, that's still not the same thing as saying that, hey, because it's not like your ancestry test says, hey, no matter what you find here, wherever your father is, that's what you are. That's not the DNA test says at all. It just shows you where, you know, it just shows you your family tree, basically the areas where your family could have came from. That's all. Not the same thing.
So if I can find where, because I watch a lot.
Now, here he goes. He's about to go on to it. You know, this brother, he really doesn't get to the point of the things that he says. He's kind of vague about what he's saying. But, of course, if you know, really pay attention, you know where he's getting at.
A lot of ancestry DNA type deals where people go live and spill their results. So the minute I start seeing, like, notable African descended melanated people having high levels of European concentration of DNA in them, then that seems kind of flawed. But case in point, the sisters, well, not even sisters, the females that we know, the twins, Tamara and what's
now basically what he was saying is that this brother is kind of I don't want to say that he's double-minded, but I just don't think that he has a set foundation on how he feels about this science, you know, because he's kind of like leaning on the fence one way or the other, you know. And I understand, because we're always learning. I'm not, don't take this video and think that I'm like really trying to down this brother, criticize him. I'm just trying to enlighten him, at least in the areas where he may not be thinking, because like I said a few times, there's areas where he was saying certain things, and you know, this brother right here, Alizar, he said a couple things and had this brother think like, okay, maybe, yeah, okay, yeah. So that's the only reason why I'm making this video, is because I want to try to get this brother to think, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of brothers out here who think similar to him. So basically what he was saying is that he see videos where people do ancestry tests and they have high levels of melanin around this brother. I've seen it too. It's not La Flama, but it's some other Latino channel here on YouTube where they it's kind of like a BuzzFeed but for Latinos or whatever. So, and I say Latinos or whatever because I don't Latinos, that's very vague and it's a very stupid word. I hate it. It's just like the word black. But anyways, but still I use them just so people can understand what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, he's saying that because I've seen people, like I said, people his skin color coming out with, like, after they do the ancestry test with high levels of European ancestry, it's like, come on, really? But don't get me wrong, there are some dark-skinned people. I know a kid who's actually the same heritage as this brother right here. His father is Haitian. Actually, it's a whole bunch of them. They're all siblings. It's about like 6 of them or 7 of them. They have a Haitian father. And I don't know how dark his father is, but their father was super dark. So the kids came out a few shades lighter than this guy. You wouldn't even think that they were biracial. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm sure their DNA, their DNA, they probably have about like 40, 50, 60% black, European DNA. And that's high levels of European DNA in you. And I've seen this one chick who was biracial. Her mother was white, her father was black. And she was like 45% European and like 60 or like 55% black, which I found kind of strange because usually it's the other way around. Usually biracial people will be, and this is another fact, this is another point that I make, like I said, this is just science, this is society science, that's what I call it, so I don't know how true it is, but at least most of the time when you look at DNA testing of people who are biracial, have one black African American father or parent and have one Anglo mother American parent or whatever, usually they come out more white than black. And like I said before, that usually happens because African Americans or blacks in the Americas in general usually have some type of white ancestry. So it only makes sense that if you have a kid and you say you're like 90% white, 90% black and you're like 10% white, or 80% black and 20% white, that your child, if you give a white woman, she's going to be more white than black in the flesh. But still, that doesn't make if you're a black man and you have a child with a white woman, you're still Israelite. And I hate that brothers try to use that as an excuse to go off and sleep with strange women, because we know how the Most High feels about us messing with strange women and giving our daughters and giving our sons over to strange women. We know the Bible, the Most High makes it clear multiple times in the Bible that we should not be messing with strange women. So brothers try to use this excuse that, if I go over here and plug this Chinese woman, my child is going to be Israelite. Well, this is how you should be thinking too. Don't you want your woman to be an Israelite? Don't you want your woman to inherit the kingdom of heaven with you? Don't you want that? Don't you want that woman, your sister, which all of our women are, don't you want that sister to inherit the kingdom of heaven just like you are? Because I can tell you this. My earthly wife, I tell you this, I will want her to inherit the kingdom of heaven too. So I'm not going to go off and marry someone who's not an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? But brothers love using that as an excuse to go off to sleep with white women, to go off to sleep with Asian women, saying that, whatever my kid is, they're going to be Israelite. And then you're just causing your kid a lot of grief. I can tell you this, my biracial siblings, they went through so much hell simply because of them having white family members. And mixed people, I feel bad for them because they get caught in the middle. They get caught in the middle in so many ways. And I'm sure Alazar, he could probably talk about his experience. I'm sure him being biracial, I don't know, everybody's experience is different, but majority of biracial people have it hard on both sides. Jealousy on both sides. Hatred mainly coming from white people, but childish jealousy coming from black people, because there's this one biracial woman who came out today who has a black father saying that she caught more racism from fucking black people than whites. I don't think she knows what the fuck racism is. Of course, she's a bad wench. She's married to a white guy. But I'm sure most of the hate that she got was from when she was young, because we know how kids are. And, a lot of black girls are taught self-hate, so they even hate on light-skinned girls because they're jealous of them, not knowing that that light-skinned girl is not better than she is. You know what I'm saying? But they do tease them. I have seen this personally. So I can understand that that's probably where she got it from. She talked about I think she said her first racist experience. I don't know. But yeah, she got it from black people. And that happens to mulatto kids when they're young. People be hating on them and stuff like that. But racism, pure racist, evil hatred usually comes from white people. And they can happen to them when they're kids. And it usually comes from adults. Not white kids, but adults. I have seen this shit. I have witnessed it firsthand. I've heard it from many other people who are not even my family member who are biracial. So yeah, anyways, I'm going off on a little tangent. So yeah, going back to what this brother was saying is that this DNA testing, he believes that this is not the white man's science, but it's been proven flawed. And let me just play what he said, because I kind of lost what he was saying.
A lot of ancestry DNA type deals where people go live and spill their results. So the minute I start seeing like notable African descended melanated people having high levels of European concentration of DNA in them, then that seems kind of flawed. But case in point, the sisters, well, not even sisters, the females that we know, the twins, Tamara and what's the other one's name? Tia. We know them to be Edomites because their father is an Edomite. And when they...
So that's why, see, so he's kind of proving the point that I'm making is that's why I don't think it's important to really judge someone whether or not they're Israelite based on skin colors, because simply everybody would think that Tia and Tamara are Israelites. You know, everybody in our community who know that we are the children of the Most High and that we are Israel, we will just look at Tamara and Tia and think that they are Israelites. We're like, hey, y'all know you're Israelites until we find out that they're not Israelites. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's not important. That's why I don't think it's necessarily important to say, oh, you're Israelite based on your skin color, because we know Hamites share the same skin color as us. So that doesn't make any sense. That's why I go back to the parable about the wheat and the tares. You know, remember, with the wheat and tares, it was an enemy who went out late at night and sowed, tares among the wheat to poison and to kill the man. But when they found out, when his servants found out, about the tares that were in the field, they went and told their master. And what did he say? He said, do not uproot them, because if you do that at the same time, you will uproot the wheat. And that's referring to Israel. Israel being the wheat, the people who are going to inherit the kingdom of heaven, and then the tares, everyone else, all these heathens out here. So that's why I think it's important for us not to uproot these people who could possibly be Jakes, just because we think that they're tares, because people are like, oh yeah, you look white, so yeah, you're not an Israelite, get the fuck out of here, when that could actually be an Israelite. And now we just sent him away from the truth, and his blood is on our hands because we sent him away from the truth, him being a Jake, and he could have been receptive to the word and found out his ancestry and found out that he actually descends from an Israelite on his paternal side. You know what I'm saying? So that's why that parable is there. Because the word is what's going to define us at the end of the day. That's why, they were supposed to grow together. That's why in the parable it says that you're supposed to let the wheat and the tare grow together. Because when they fully grow, you will know which one is the wheat and you will know which one is the tare. What is the growing all about? Growing in this word. Because if you're receptive to the word and you keep the laws and commandments of the Most High, it will show. It will show that you are a child of the Most High. And then you can be like, oh yeah, that brother's an Israelite. Oh yeah, that person may not be an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely going to be shown, because when the Most High comes through, he's going to take the wheat. You know what I'm saying? So let's not put these other people's blood on our hands, you know what I'm saying, at all, because they could be an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? If I was ever out there preaching and a white man came up to me, he's very receptive to it, he wanted to study and he wanted my contact, I would definitely give him the contact, like, okay, yeah, whatever. I may not expect to ever see him, you know what I'm saying, but if he comes around like, hey man, I'm really interested in learning more, I would tell him, like, do research. You know what I want you to do? I want you to go and find out. I want you to do an ancestry research. I want you to go back and try to dig as far back as you can to find out where your fathers come from. Because white people, of course, they're better at keeping track of their ancestry than we are, because they didn't have their history ripped away from us they didn't have their history ripped away from them like we have. So that's what I would tell him to do. I'll put him up to task. You know what I'm saying? If we find out he's an Israelite, wow, that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Because there are people out here who look straight like a white man, who look straight like an Asian man, who look straight like a Middle Eastern man, and could be Israel. He could look like an Ethiopian and could be Israel. You know what I'm saying? So we can't jump the gun. You know what I'm saying? We have to let's see how they do with the word of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Let them grow together with the wheat and the tares, because the Bible is telling us right there that we won't be able. There's going to be a point in time where we won't be able to tell who is Israel, because we know the Native American. Well, I'm not sure how studied you are in that area, but Native Americans shows that that they. Okay, anyways, Native Americans are black. They were black. Today, most of the Native Americans that we see on the reservations, most of them look like Hispanic people. Why is that? Because most Native Americans on the reservations are actually mestizo. They're not full-blooded Indian. You know what I'm saying? Even when you look at the older pictures of Native Americans, you can see that they were much darker. But then if we go back to the 1800s and back, I can show you what Native Americans look like. They look just like these people right here. I sent this link to the brothers over at SICARI before. I'm not sure if they ever got it. But look at these people. These people are darker than me. I'm a dark-skinned black man. And they are darker than me. They're around my skin color or darker. I believe they're darker. But look at this. Look at this. And see, the reason why I think it's important, and if the brothers over at SICARI or any brother that sees this, I'm going to put the link in my description. Y'all can come over and print these pictures out. This is from a book that I got a long time ago called Travels in the Interior of North America. It's a very good book. The book was... well, the paintings were owned by the Wade family, which is a family over in Germany. Prince Maximilian Wade III, he traveled over to North America because he was afraid. Sorry, let me scroll up a little bit. He was afraid that the North American Indian was going to go extinct very soon, and he was pretty close with his thoughts because they were being wiped out so fucking fast that he thought they was going to go extinct. He wanted an accurate depiction of the Native Americans. Why? Because if you look at the pictures of Pocahontas, what does she look like? She like a fucking white woman. So he wanted to show everybody what Native Americans really look like for Europeans who never traveled to America and never will. He wanted to show them what they look like. He wanted an accurate depiction of what they look like. So he got an artist by the name of Carl Baltmer, and he wanted the most accurate pictures he could get. That's why to this day, this book, these watercolors are considered, considered the most accurate depiction of Native Americans to this day. These are the most accurate depictions of Native Americans. And there's other books out there that have pictures, and it's sad because there's some books out there where they actually whitewash the fucking photos, and I even called them out on it too. And they had no because what the family does is after, I think it was like 100 years later, they release it to the public and to different publishers, and some publishers whitewash the fucking pictures. That's a damn shame. That's a damn shame. But anyways, look at this brother. Look at him. And you can even see pictures. I don't think I have all of them, but there's pictures of them with fringes on, even with their border of blue. They're gonna border of blue right there. Fringes, border of blue. You know what I'm saying? So come on. I need you people. I need all you people out there who are sitting and saying that these brothers are not Israelites. I need you to stop it, please, because what you're doing is you're uprooting the brothers out there who are of Latino descent. Because remember, most Latinos are of Native American descent. So I don't really hate it, but when brothers say that, if you're of Negro or Hispanic descent or Latino descent, you're a Native American. You're a Israelite. But what I believe that people should say is that if you're of, well, I guess, because a lot of Hispanics don't even say that they're Israelite. They don't even say that they're Native American. So, okay, I understand now. But, anyways, when y'all sitting here saying that these people are not Israelites, you're uprooting. You're uprooting Israel. You're uprooting the wheat with the tares. You don't do that. Look at this. There's your proof right there. Look at those fringes. Look at these fringes. Look at that border of blue. How dare y'all sit there and say that these people are not Yashala? That's a damn shame. Don't do it, man. Because when you turn them away from the truth, guess what? Guess where their blood is going to be? On your damn hands. You're supposed to be You're supposed to be the keepers of the wall. You know what I'm saying? And look at this. You're turning away the people. You're letting the enemy in by not feeding our people the truth. Here's some more brothers right here. Dang, I don't know why this keeps scrolling down. I don't know why I keep doing that. But here, some more brothers right there. Let me go back. Oh shit, I didn't want to do that. But yeah, I'm gonna send you the link. I'm gonna put the link in the description. And this talks about the little bit of information. Talks about how Native Americans were actually physically changing, like their features were physically changing due to mixing with white people. And like I said, most Native Americans today on a ranch, and the stereotypical Native American, those guys are actually mestizo. They're mixed between white and Native American. This is why they try to shun that stuff. They really do. Because they don't want to have anything to do with white people neither. But the truth is the truth. I was trying. I know I got some other pictures somewhere. Yeah, but even with the outfits like this, usually they have fringes in the border of blue at the bottom of their pants legs. If I can. You know, I hate when I do this. Okay, so anyways, there's my that's my avatar right there. Let's make Yashala great again. And that should be all of our jobs, man. Because I see brothers getting torn apart, falling out of truth, you know, leaving other brothers behind simply because of small discrepancies in what we think. You know, like, okay, some brothers believe that, you know, that we're called Yisrael, or some of us are called Yashala, whatever. That's really small. That's really small to me. I don't see that as being something that's going to determine whether or not you know, we're going to receive the kingdom of heaven, stuff like that. But anyways, these are paintings inside of a temple, inside of a Mayan temple. Look at them, black people with braids. And you really can't see the braids all too well in here. They go to fringes right there. I hate how this website works now. But yep, here they are again, black. Here they are with more braids, black. Let me get out of here. Those are the Russian icons. Oh, the black Christ, as they say. Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai. And just the saints and all that stuff. But anyways, yeah, here's another picture. It's funny, man, because even like when you don't see the fringes on the brothers, you always see them with the bead things, like the little beads that look like fringes, and they always have blue on them. Always have blue. I hate when they put me into this damn thing. But here you go again, border blue. See how you guys, man, I just don't get it. I mean, is this not what the Most High commanded of us? To wear fringes on the border, on the edge of our garments with the border of blue? Come on, stop it, please. All you brothers out there in the truth saying that these are not Israelites, I need you to stop. Here's the border of blue, and here are the fringes. Y'all just need to stop. These people were black at one time. They were black. And your brothers may say, oh, well, they look different. Well, you have to remember, they went to many different captivities. And there's books out there talking about this. And yes, some of them are mixed, you know, racially mixed. You know, they mix with other people, but that's not their fault. But they still kept their heritage, and they knew who they were. You know, some of them fell off. So a lot of them fell off, didn't know who the hell they were. But there were still tribes out there who knew what they were and even spoke Hebrew. You know, Google the Lost Lunar Stone. But look, he even has the fringes right here. See, they put fringes in a lot of different parts of where brothers today really don't put fringes on. But he even got fringes on the side. Fringes right there. You know, he got the blue on it. So, you know, anyways, let me go through some more. Here you go again, right here, the border of blue, fringes. You can't deny these brothers, man. I mean, I get, you know, I get excited. I know you're hearing me giggling and shit, but I get excited, you know, looking at this all the time because brothers don't get this information. What we need to do is study more. You know, just as much as we study the Bible, we need to get out here and study history. Because the Bible is nothing more than our history. The Bible is history. It's history. It's our history. It's our heritage. And we need to go out here and find these books, because a lot of brothers don't even know this book exists. You know, if these brothers seen that these people, that Native Americans were once black, and that they did carry on the laws of the Most High, they weren't perfect. And yeah, a lot of them went off, but so did we. Even when we went into the wilderness, we went the fuck off. That's why we were put in captivity. All of us. I'm talking about the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. This is why we got put into captivity. But even us from the southern kingdom, we went off. We even went off in idolatry. That's how we did that little fucking bruja bull crap, and also the the Santeria, even the same thing with voodoo, all that stuff. Come on, we still even have black people in the United States who practice voodoo. Look at us, we're going on today. Majority of black people are Christians. Pork eating, no fringe wearing, not keeping none of the Most High's commandments at all. You know what I'm saying? So, brothers want to talk about Native American sacrifice, people did all this shit. It's funny because I was reading a book where they were saying that a lot of that heart sacrifice that happened down there in Mexico did not fucking happen. A lot of that was just myth. And they were using that as an excuse to beat these people in submission and a reason for them to throw Catholicism on them. Because this is the same thing with, if you read one of Christopher Columbus' logs, where he talks about when he first came over to Hispaniola, he was like, yes, these people over here are God-fearing people. And you have to ask yourself a question, how the fuck do they know about God? Because he was referring to the Christian God. They're God-fearing people, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, okay, there's no goat. This was Queen. I can't remember her name. But it was Queen of Spain. And she was like, okay, well, there's no goat. Come back. She's going to stop funding their expedition. Then his next letter. This is how wicked the white man is. His next letter, he sent out to her saying that, oh, these people are savages. They practice witchcraft and all this stuff. And she was like, okay, I'll fund your trip. Oh, and I think he also said there's rumors that there's gold here and all this stuff. So then she sent money for him to continue his expedition. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say at that moment. But she had sent him more money for his expedition to find more gold and stuff like that. So, yeah. Saying that they were cannibals. He also said they were cannibals. They were sacrificing people. All this other crazy shit. Same thing they say about black people. You know what I'm saying? So, come on, people. We can't believe all that shit. But anyways, this is why they were called red Native Americans, because they wore red paint. I'm sure if you looked at a lot of pictures and noticed that a lot of them wore red paint. So that's why they were called red Americans. And they also wore red and black. Basically, that's war paint. Red and black. So they paint themselves red and black. You see the black paint. You see the red paint in between the skin. But yeah. Let me see if I can find some more pictures. I actually have way more pictures, but I just haven't uploaded them yet. I don't know why they got ads in the middle of this. But yeah, you can't deny them their heritage. That's just wrong, period, man. And we know, I can tell you this. The Most High is not looking kindly upon, brothers denying Israel from the truth. And see, I had this uploaded back in 2008. So this is over 8 years ago. And I simply did that because of this, to show other Israelites that the Americans were black at one point. So that shows you how long I've been, in this truth and stuff. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I'm always trying to study to make myself get there. Because none of us are. But, let me go back. Yeah, I think that's it. But, yeah. Anyways, man, and the more you study too, you'll find out that there's different groups of Native Americans over here. That there was different nations. Nations of people, and that they varied in look. And then a lot of people they try to point to, oh well, what about the people, the Eskimos, the Inuits? Well, guess what? History shows, you can even talk to, because I'm really into this stuff. When I was in college, I studied anthropology, so I just love this type. I love this type of stuff. Study the culture, people, history. I've always been into it, mainly because of the word. I was taught the word at a young age, and that fascinated me that we were Israel and that we weren't Africans like we've been taught. But anyways, most historians will tell you that the Inuit and the Alaskans, not the Alaskans, but the Inuits and the Eskimos, that they are actually a newer people in the sense that they weren't here as long as the traditional Native Americans, that they were pretty recent. They arrived here slightly before white people did, probably a few hundred years before white people arrived here, they did. And the reason how they say this is not only based on culture of the Eskimos, because guess what? You can find Inuit tribes over in Russia. And they said that those people over there been there for thousands of years. And just based on their traveling, the way they travel, oral stories, culture, and the most important thing is language, determines that the Alaskans, the ones who look like Chinese people, that those people were they recently been here. I mean, they recently arrived here. You know, they arrived here not too long before the white men did, simply because their language haven't changed that much. Their language is almost identical to the Inuits over in Russia. So that was a big indicator to show that they're not the same people as the people who came here thousands of years ago, the Native Americans. So basically that's all I wanted to say. I think I touched on everything I wanted to say. No, actually there's a little bit more. So I'm going to go to the 23. Let me see what he said.
He went and done their DNA testing. It showed that they had a majority of European. So this is...
See, so that's what I was talking about earlier. When most biracial people go and get a DNA test, so if this brother right here did DNA tests, I don't know if his father has any white heritage, but if his father does, he will most likely have more European DNA. But does that make him any less Israelite? No. Because we know that the seed is what determines what he is. And like I said before, the seed is more than just a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing too. What was I going to say? Yeah, so most biracial people will come back more European than they will black, simply because of that, because most black Americans have white heritage. So anyways, let me jump up a little bit. Let me see. Let me just play a little bit.
Once again, a science that I never gonna say that it's infallible, because there's nothing infallible on this earth.
Okay, let me just skip ahead.
They don't descend from the same Puerto Rican that we know
Afro-Mexican. So it's really like there's an agenda there. Well, go ahead.
No. Hey, look.
Okay, so this brother right here, he was just making a point about how there was no classification of Afro-Mexican until I think last year's when they finally documented Afro-Mexicans, and he was basically saying how Mexicans didn't really see a difference, like they didn't really divide, say, oh, you're Afro-Mexican, stuff like that. And he says that based on where he lives in San Diego, where a majority of them are Mexican, of Mexican descent. I've never been to Veracruz before, but I had a friend who went there. I have a friend who went there, and I have a brother who went there. His name is Parazad. Well, I don't believe not to Veracruz, but he's been all through Mexico, Belize, places like that. And he actually met Parazad. So I'm sure if he watched this video and other brothers, they probably know who I'm talking about. And from what I heard from my friend who is from Mexico, is that they do kind of ostracize them and stuff, and they really don't recognize them or give them much support. Because Veracruz is a very poor place, and there's a lot of crime there because of cartels. That's where a lot of them are stationed at. But he's right. He's right. They don't really say oh, you're not Mexican. Oh, you're. There are some Mexicans down there that will be oh, look at this negrito, blah 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 blah. But most of them won't. Most of them will see them as another Mexican. Because I had a Mexican friend. His name was Fernando, and he was from Veracruz. And I always used to wonder until he told me. It's funny because we had all different shades of Mexicans at my school. We had a lot of Mexicans at my school. And it's funny because even though Columbus, Ohio is far away from Mexico, we have a big Mexican population here. And Somali population here too. And Asian population. Crazy, right? But we had a lot of Mexicans at my school. My school was the most racially mixed school in Central Ohio. And we had a Mexican who was my close friend. His name was Fernando. He was very dark. He was around this brother's skin tone, but he looked like a Mexican. You get what I'm saying? He had a Mexican, the stereotypical Mexican phenotype, but he was super dark like this. Now, another thing we have to realize too is that not all dark Hispanics are Mexican, or have Negro in them. We have to remember that some of them even are just pure blood Native American. You know what I'm saying? Because we have to realize that Native Americans were that dark too. And there are some people in Veracruz who say, hey, that I'm just full-blooded Native American. But anyways, there's a brother as dark as him named Fernando. And then there was another guy who I was cool with. He was from Mexico, and his name was Jose. And he was he was as pale as a fucking white person. He was pasty white. You know, until I asked him, I thought he was like Italian or something. That's how light he was. And then we had a bunch of Mexicans who looked like the stereotypical Mexican. But yeah, you know, they treated him the same. Like him and his siblings, they were Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just backing up what he's saying is that most Mexicans don't see Afro Mexicans as being any different from them. You know, but there are some out there who do view themselves as Mexican. Also, another point that he made too, I believe, was that he was saying that Mexicans are not. This brother, he was saying that Mexicans, the reason why he don't think that Mexicans or Latinos are Israelites, just simply because he don't believe that they're downtrodden. He don't believe that they're oppressed, which is totally not true. I mean, I don't know if you remember a few years ago in Arizona where they actually had a law out there to where if you looked like a Latino, they could arrest you. I mean, they could pull you over and detain you and pull you for your papers. I don't think that's called oppression. Even ICE sends these guys out all the time, kick them out of the country. These people are poor. They live in their home countries. They live in poorer conditions than we do. We think just because they have their own countries that they're not oppressed. Well, this brother will agree, the brother they're talking to will agree that Haitians, Jamaicans, Barbadians, all these other black people out here are Israelites. He will probably even say that they're oppressed. Whoa. He will agree that they're Israelites, but are they oppressed because they have their own country? Of course they are. They are still oppressed. Haiti is a good example. Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Why? Not because the people over there are lazy, but because the rest of the world fucking blackballed them. The Western powers blackballed them simply because they won their independence. They wanted Haiti to be a lesson to the rest of the world. They're oppressed. Even Jamaicans, even though they have their own country, guess who has their fucking thumb over top of them? Because if Jamaica wants to kick all the white people out of their country, which there are white Jamaicans, guess who's going to come down their throat for that? The United States. The UN. Even African countries are under the white man's fucking thumb. You know what I'm saying? So you can't sit there and say, oh, because they have their own countries that they're oppressed. And let me tell you this. I don't know if you've ever been to Mexico, but I have. The people who are ruling Mexico are white Mexicans. Yes, a lot of people are ignorant to think that Latino is a Latino, but that's not true. There are different types of Latinos. There's different types of mixes. There's black, there's Asians, there's all types. Every race that you can find in this world, you can find in Latin America. And the ruling class down there in Mexico and a lot of other Latin American countries are white people. People who descend from Spanish heritage. People who descend from other European heritage. They're not the majority. They are a minority. But it's just like how the minority rules this world. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it's always been. And a lot of those white Mexicans, I'm using Mexico for example, they descend from Spaniards going back hundreds of years ago. And the wealth has just stayed in their family. These are a lot of people who rule it. The richest man in Mexico, his father is Arab. You know what I'm saying? So most of the brown people, most of the brown Mexicans who are of indigenous or Negro descent, they are downtrodden. They are treated like shit. They are being killed. They are being imprisoned. These are the ones who are fleeing to the United States because they have very little opportunity down there. So how are you going to say that these people are not oppressed? They are. Most of the dignitaries down there, most of the politicians down there, guess what? They are white. Most of them are white Mexicans. I want you to pay attention to this. Now, does that mean that they're not Israelites? No, that doesn't mean that they're not Israelites. But they get that benefit from their skin color. You know what I'm saying? So don't sit there and say that these people are not oppressed. Because they're just coming from one oppression to a better looking one. That's basically what it is. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot say that. Even when they come here, they're treated the same way we are. They're being arrested. You can't tell me that's not. Because if you live in Central California, which I don't, but I follow the news, A lot of them are being arrested for no fucking reason, just like we are. A lot of them are being in prison for no reason. A lot of them are being shot and killed. There was a few years ago where a young Mexican boy was playing with a BB gun, and guess what? The same thing that happened to the young boy here in Ohio happened to him. There was a boy a few months ago, this past summer, in my own fucking city here in Columbus, Ohio. He was shot and killed because he had a BB gun. Now, I'm not saying that what the kid did was right, because I believe he was going around pointing at people. He was shot and killed. It was the same thing that happened to the young boy up here in Cleveland, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? So, that happened to that Mexican boy. And that wasn't the only Mexican boy. Have you ever seen videos? I've seen tons of fucking videos where Hispanic Americans living in the United States are being chased, beat, brutalized, shot, and killed by fucking, I'm sorry, I got a little emotional there, but are fucking shot and killed by evil racist fucking pigs, white pigs, pink pigs, pigskins as I call them. And you mean something that they're not oppressed? They're being fucking pulled over. They're being racially profiled because of the way they look. They're being criminalized because of the way they look. I mean, shit. Have you not been following what the hell Trump been saying for the longest? You cannot tell me that they're not oppressed people. And they're not going through the curses that Israel's going through altogether. You can't tell me that they don't fit the prophecies in Deuteronomy. You can't tell me that they don't fit the prophecies in the Bible, period. You can't tell me this. I'm not saying that all Latinos are Israelites. I'm not saying this. Because like I said, not all African Americans who consider themselves African Americans are Israelites. I don't even like the term Latino because it's very vague. But, like I said, not all of them are Israelites. Because a big portion of Argentinos are of Italian and German descent. A big portion of them. I have a friend who's from Argentina, and he is of Italian descent. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's a good chance that he's not an Israelite. And even the same thing with Chile. Same thing. German and Italian heritage in there. A lot of it. And it's the same thing in a lot of parts of Latin America. Just America's period. Where there's a lot of tears. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about who adheres to his word. Because look at Salma Hayek. She's a good example. Her mother is indigenous Mexican. And then her father is Lebanese. But brothers would probably say, oh yeah, she's an Israelite. Just because of the way she looks. But guess what? She's not. So, yeah, that's basically the point I wanted to make. But yeah, moving on. Let me go to...
have in regards to Mexico and Mexicans and Afro-Mexicans and things of that nature.
Okay, so that's the point that he was making. Let me go through it because I've been talking for a while. Okay, so let me go back a little bit right here.
They don't descend from the same Puerto Rican that we know as what's her name? Not Jennifer Lopez, but her too. Our hoods was just black like that. You know what I'm saying? It's different because I know how that is in Cali. You know what I'm saying? Especially, you know what I mean, in different places where it's heavy, high volume. You know what I'm saying? Mexicans there. But I'll tell you this. Every prison that I've been to, every one of them has been filled with Mexicans. And I done been cellmates with Mexicans. I done had outright fights with Mexicans. I done been in 10 prisons in 3 states with Mexicans. So I'm not, listen, I'm not, I done been to Puerto Rico, where I know that is Puerto Ricans that I know y'all know I'm black. I'm full melanin. I know them that I seen them blacker than me down here, because I know for a fact they don't descend from the same Puerto Rican that we know as what's her name? Not Jennifer Lopez, but her too. From White Men Can't Jump. The Rosie Perez. That's a Spaniard.
Now, he said that he knows that the black Puerto Ricans don't descend from the same as Rosie Perez and Jennifer Lopez. How do you know this? How do you know that they're both not Israelites? You You know what I'm saying? That dark skinned one could very well be a fucking a Edomite. You know what I'm saying? So you can't, like I said, skin color is not really that important. It's about who adheres to this word and finding your ancestry if you can. You know what I'm saying? Because most of us African Americans, we can't even find our hit. I can tell you this: white people can track their ancestry better than we can. Almost everybody can, better than we can. And it's kind of hard for Native Americans and Hispanics too, because they went through the same thing we did.
But how
her DNA?
Oh yeah, and also I wanted to say this: that also Native Americans went to slavery. So yeah, for people who don't know that, in every fucking Latin American country.
You can't go by DNA. You have to drop.
Here's the thing, though. You're saying that based off of a physical appearance. I know.
No, not at all.
Now they're talking about like that. The one brother is basing being Israelite off physical appearance. But anyways, I wanted to jump into it. You know, that doesn't mean anything. Like I said before, like I proved before, like with my grandmother, you know, she was dark skinned. She was like a regular black person, yet she's not Israel. So you can't sit there and say, oh, because Rosie Perez looked like a Spaniard, that she's a Spaniard. That's bull. And you know what? And he was mentioning prison and how he fought Mexicans and how Mexicans align with whites. That's true. A lot of Hispanics do that. And that's because a lot of them want to identify with their oppressor. It's that Stockholm syndrome. And a lot of them see that as being a step up. So a lot of them will sit there and say that they're white. And now he's talking about the ancestry test. Yeah, like I said before, you will see Hispanics with majority white European DNA, but it's all about where their father's from. So that's not the same thing that he's arguing. He's trying to say that you know, determining your race based on your father's house and the DNA test is the same thing. No, it's not. It's not the same thing. One is saying that, hey, this is what you are because of what your father is. The other one is saying, hey, this is where all of your ancestry comes from. Not the same thing. Because that black DNA, like say Rosie Perez, for example, she could be 70% European, 30% black. As long as that 30% black, as long as that blackness comes from her father, it can even come from her mother too, but as long as her father's heritage goes back, that blackness, that little 30% or even 10% comes from a black father who's a black father who has that seed that goes through all the way to Israel. That's all that matters. That is all that matters. So he's contradicting himself. He's really this brother seems very confused in the way his thought process. I don't know. But the point I'm making is, even if someone's 70% white and 30% black, as long as their paternal heritage goes all the way back to Israel, that's all that matters. Why? Because my brother is probably most likely like 40% black, but guess what? His heritage goes back to Israel. So, yeah, that's all that matters. That's the point that I'm stressing. But also, like I said, with Mexicans, a lot of Hispanics try to identify as white. How do I know this? I know a lot of Mexicans. And then also, I had a video. And you know what? I'm pissed because I think I lost it. Shit. You know what I think? Oh no, here it is. It's called When Brown People, and I want to show you this. I want to show you this too, right here. This is in Mexico. This is a genetics admixture study in Mexico. This was done like some years ago. And yeah, back in 1996, 86, and they did. This is a basic chart showing the admixture between them. Now, the red indicates an American heritage, blue indicates European, and yellow indicates East African. Or I mean African. Sorry, I saw Africano del Este, which means of East Africa. I don't know why it says that. Why does it say that? I don't know why it says that. Well, it should say Oeste, which means West African. So somebody misspelled that. But anyways, so look at this. Most Mexicans are of Native American descent. There are Mexicans out there who are more white, especially when you go more north, like Baja and places like that. You will find more Mexicans of European descent. But yeah, most Mexicans even have Negro in them. So yeah. But I also wanted to show this video right here, and you will see how Mexicans think, how they believe that they're white. So this is why they align themselves with blackness, not because they're not Israel. It's not because they don't have Israel's spirit, because we know that we are a rebellious fucking people. So that has nothing to do with them wanting to align with white. It's just because even black people, even fucking black Americans want to be white. Badly. You know what I'm saying? So we can't sit there and say that's their not Israelite spirit speaking. We can't say that. Because there's people who are even us who want to sit there and be fucking white people. You know what I'm saying? So anyways. So his point is to try to prove that they're Native American, because they are. See, and he says also many brown people grow up rejecting our Native American and African roots because of racial discrimination. So you can't tell me that these people are not oppressed. And this video was uploaded by a Mexican man. So brother, you gotta reevaluate your way of thinking, man. And all the other brothers out there who think like him. Now, mind you, most Mexicans and most Central Americans are mostly of Native American descent. That chart, even though it showed Mexico, that kind of reflects most of Central and even the northern part of South America. Well, most of South America, excluding like Argentina and Chile. So, yeah. Hey, order boy too.
En la pregunta de raza, ¿qué raza van a marcar?
Look at these people. Now look at these people. There's no way in hell that these people will be considered white in any way. That sister right there look more. She look like she could be a fucking. She look like she could be black more than anything. You know what I'm saying? If she had to choose between black or white, she would be most likely. With somebody looking in, just looking at her, they probably think that she was black. You know what I'm saying? But.
En la pregunta de raza hay blanco, negro, nativo americano o asiático. ¿Qué raza se consideran ustedes? Hispano es.
Now, see, some of them do say Hispanic because, you know, they were taught that. And actually the term Hispanic or Hispano or Latino, that was actually coined here in the United States, and it only been recently pushed onto them like in the past decade or so. So it's a very new term to them. That's why a lot of them don't know what race they belong to. But look at this brother back here and look straight like a Native American. And he would probably call himself white. See, he was telling her that it's a culture, it's not a race. And he's right. It's not a race.
¿Es usted blanco? ¿Es usted negro? ¿Es usted nativo americano o es usted asiático?
Dice moreno.
¿Podría pensar en marcar nativo americano? Sí.
It's sad that it takes that much for them. He had to question them just to get them to think that, you know, do you think that you're a Native American? I mean, I'm not even joking. You can go to reservations here, like the Apache. You can go to the reservations to find people who look exactly like them. Nobody questions whether or not they're Native Americans. Why? Because they've been forced to keep that heritage with them. Because a lot of them, and this is the thing too, millions of Native Americans here in the United States were killed off, but then a lot of them even just married out. And that's a problem with them. That's a problem that's going on with them. Not only just the, you know, the oppression that they're suffering over, but a lot of them are also marrying fucking white people. How do I know? I have some extended family members like that. So yeah, look just like these people. Yet they don't consider themselves Native Americans. Why? Because they've been brainwashed. They've been brainwashed, and there's a lot of self-hatred.
Now, in the question of race, which race do you mark? Black, white, Native American, or Asian? White.
Ain't that sad? That's sad. This is why they are not aligned with white people. They want to be white. They want to marry white. They want their children to come out with blonde hair, blue eyes, pale skin. It's sad. It's a condition. It's a curse put on our people. We don't know who we are. We lost our heritage. And now it's time to go out there and teach our people who they are. I just showed you their ancestors, the Native Americans. You cannot deny these people. There's a mountain of evidence showing that not only we are Yashala, I'm talking about the Southern Kingdom, but also that the Native Americans and who all descend from them through the paternal lineage are Israelites too. But another thing I wanted to say, and this is just a question to the brothers out there listening. Me, well, never mind. I'm just gonna forget it. But anyways, I'm gonna continue on.
You consider yourself white? Not really.
See, see, that's that self-hate, man. You know, that's self-hate. She want to call herself white, but you know, when it comes to reality, she can't do that. You know, she come here to the United States, you're not white.
Do you know your race, your history, your ancestors?
See, you know, and it's funny because most Mexicans will bring up, they will say like Chicano, or they will say like they were Aztecs and all this stuff. But a lot of them don't know that, because let me tell you this: not all Mexicans are Aztecs. There were a bunch of smaller tribes. You know, so a lot of them will refer to Aztec because that's the most popular tribe taught today. You know what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of them will claim Aztecs, but a lot of them weren't Aztec from the Aztec tribe, and a lot of them don't even have no clue at all. You know what I'm saying? So they're in the same boat as the Negroes here. You know, and they're still in their land. They're still in their second home, the Americas, and they don't even know who the hell they are. That's sad. It was beaten and stolen from them. It was beaten out of them and stolen from them.
About it? What's your country originally from? México. Pues en la pregunta de raza, ahí en pregunta dice si usted es blanco, negro, nativo americano o asiático. ¿Cuál marcó usted?
No, la de ¿cómo se llama? La de hispano.
Usted marcó hispano. Ok, pero hispano no es una raza, sino una herencia cultural. Pero hay otra pregunta que dice cuál es su raza. ¿Usted marcó esa pregunta?
No, sé que no me llamaron, pero no.
Oh. Okay. ¿Usted personalmente qué raza se considera usted? ¿Y usted? ¿Cuál es su herencia racial?
So anyways, I'm not going to go through this whole video, but you get my point. Most of them consider themselves white. This is why they align with them, because it's not because they're really white, but it's because they're taught, you know, self-hatred, and they taught that being white is superior. You know, so it has nothing to do with them not being Israelites and stuff like that, because like I said, there's black people out here who are cooning hard. Tommy Sotomayor is one of those people. You know, so anyways, this video has been long enough. I need to eat. I need to rest. And that's all I have to say. So, Shalom. Kwam Yashala.